Coming back at it again with the old I don't feel like doing my hair hat. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is October and this is Nerdboy Reads, a channel in which I talk about the books and manga that I have been reading and loving recently. So for those of you who may have seen my August TBR, you will know that I had great ambitions to read 10 books, finish up a whole lot of series, and finally start September being able to read and start new series that I'm really excited about and to just clear off a bunch of books on my TBR. But then August happened and I wanted to die. The last 2 months of August have literally been the worst of my life so far. Everything just kept happening and it didn't help that I had also started off reading a book that nearly put me into a slump. So I only read about half of the books that I wanted to. I'm not going to make excuses, I'm just going to say I did my best. I did manage to finish one series, which was a duology, and I read a couple standalones, and I finished another book in the Welcome to Night Vale script book, but I only read about 5 books thanks to everything going on in August, so I'm going to go through what they are with you today, and you're just going to have to forgive me for not reading 10 books. So, yeah. Just a quick note that I will be talking about spoilers when I talk about these books, so be aware of that going in. One of the first books that I finished was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This is actually a Fall of the House of Usher retelling. A person goes to visit their dying friend and finds out that everything isn't what it seems. I really liked this book. This book really just hit a spot for me. This book contained a lot of things that I wasn't really expecting going into it. I don't really know what I was expecting. I didn't know this was a Fall of House of Usher retelling, and since I still haven't read the original Fall of House of Usher, I didn't have any idea what to expect in the retelling. I did read Fall of the House of Cabal, which is also kind of a Fall of House of Usher retelling if you look at it correctly. I'm starting to want to read Fall of the House of Usher more because of all of the similarities between this book and Fall of House of Cabal, and I just want to see how it ties in with the original Fall of House of Usher. And I can easily do that because I have a collection of his short stories over there, so I may do that soon because it is a short story. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the atmosphere. It was really dark. It was really gripping. I really enjoyed the subtle hints that mushrooms were at play throughout the entire thing, and then the reveal that the mushrooms were able to control a human body and keep it alive even after death, and it was really spooky. I'm one of those people who believe that what is dead should stay dead, and the fact that this kind of morphs that into what is dead can still move and be alive is kind of spooky to me. I'm a fan of a good zombie book, and this kind of felt like a zombie book, but more of a puppetry way, which was interesting. The fact that this woman, the friend, really let herself get into the mushrooms, like gave into the mushrooms to give them a home, and believed that they were like, she was worshiping them and she was giving them a nice home, was also a good touch to show like how deluded this woman was near the end of her life. Another nice little touch I liked was how the main character was gender neutral, and the author took the time to make a whole little section dedicated to the culture around this person and where they came from, and then explain why everyone was like that. Like, they had a different pronouns for the children, they had one for warriors, and then once they left, if they chose to leave the culture, they were able to pick the neutral they, them, or he, him, or she, her pronouns, and I really enjoyed that. That was a nice little touch of world building that you don't really see. That was just a really nice little touch of world building. I can't really say much more about this because it is a short story, but it was one of my favorites that I read this far. It wasn't really like spooky as I was expecting. It was more thriller-y, I believe I want to call it. But the mushroom elements, the rabbits were insane, and I liked reading it. I'm glad I did. The next book that I read was part of a buddy read with me and CC and Books, and that is Dark Harvest by Norman Patridge. One day I will get this author's name without having to look at it every time I need to reference it. We decided to buddy read this because we both had it on our TBRs, we both had it on our radars, and there is a movie adaptation coming out next week or so as of recording this video, and I wanted to be able to compare it when the movie came out. This book I described this book earlier as you have to try to kill the October Boy before he kills you, and that's not really accurate. You do have to try to kill the October Boy before he reaches the church, though, because if he reaches the church, he's won. What does he win? You never really know. You just know that you have to kill him. The story is set in a town which you have to let your boys from the age of 16 to 19 run in this race to try to kill the October Boy, and they will win whatever their hearts desire. Turns out, though, at the end of this book we find, or near the middle of this book actually, we find out that the winner who actually kills the October Boy just takes his place and becomes the next year's October Boy, and you get your body buried in a cornfield and you get resurrected as this jack-o'-lantern guy, and that's just how you live your life, trying to run, trying to reach the church, because if you reach the church you're able to like be free and you're able to break the curse and just go on to the afterlife. I really enjoyed this book. I am a big fan of survival horror with paranormal elements, and that is definitely what this book is. My main complaint, though, is that it is so short. You don't really get a lot of time to flesh out the characters. The only real motivation we see is the October Boy, because he is the last year's winner, so we get to learn a lot more about him than we do any of the other main characters. And then there's also the issue I had of we don't really understand why this is happening. We don't know why this town made the deal with whatever to make the October Boy a thing. We don't really know who started it. We don't really know why it keeps going. We just know that if the October Boy reaches the church in the middle of the town, he wins and the curse is broken, the deal is broken, but we don't understand why the deal was made in the first place. However, I still really enjoyed this book. Like I said, I am a huge fan of survival horror, and this is definitely it. I'm glad we get to see a lot of the October Boy's perspective, and we get to see him planning and him making plans and him going through the emotions of trying to keep himself alive. We get to see him be born, which is one of my favorite scenes in the entire book, and we get to see how he thinks, how he plans and gets, because it is also a survival game for him too, which I think is great to do in a book like this, because we often see how the survivors get to move and get to plan and get to survive, but we never really see the other side of the story, especially in a two-part survival story like this, and I think that was a great touch to add. I can't wait to see this movie to see how it translates in the end. I want to see, maybe they'll add more details about why the deal was made. Maybe we get to see more of the October Boy's backstory, maybe the town's backstory. I just want to see more of this world, and hopefully the movie will be able to provide that for me. So, here's hoping. Next, I think this next book is one that I actually read first. I just picked it up now, and that is The Creeping Shadow by Jonathan Stroud. This is the fourth book in the Lockwood & Co. series, in which Lucy, after going through a traumatic event, Lucy decides to separate herself from Lockwood & Co. to keep them safe, and he ends up hiring her as a freelancer to solve a mystery that the whole town is going through. I really liked this book. I am so glad I was able to get back into this series. I am glad that I found these, and I'm glad that I was able to blow through this as fast as I did. I'm just sad that I didn't get to finish up the series this month, but again, everything happened. One of my initial complaints going into this book was when Holly was introduced to the Lockwood & Co. They did Jonathan Stroud did the typical author thing of when another girl is introduced into a group of one girl, two boys, they kind of get pitted against each other, and I didn't like that. And it's still kind of present in here with Lucy pitting herself against Holly and Holly just kind of rolling with it. I didn't really like that, but they were really good together. They played really well together. I really enjoyed seeing these characters interact again. I really enjoyed the hint at the end that there is a lot more going on in this world than we are left to believe, and I just really enjoyed watching everything go down. I knew that in the end Lucy was going to rejoin Lockwood & Co. I just didn't know why I expected anything else. I feel like it would have been better if she didn't. I liked to see more of her freelance work, because in the beginning we only get like a couple chapters of her being a freelance worker and how she operates by herself and how she lives by herself, and I feel like her growth would have been a bit better if we got to see her actually succeeding as a freelancer instead of giving up and going back to Lockwood & Co. because she didn't feel successful. At least that's how I translated it. I don't really know if that was his intent, if Jonathan Stroud's intentions, but it's how I read it going when I left the book. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. It's a lot more haunting than I anticipated from a middle grade. This entire series was. There was moments when I was actually like tense and creeped out. I really enjoyed the ghostly gothic atmosphere created by this book. I really enjoyed the descriptions of the varying poltergeists and ghosts that we see interacting, and I really enjoyed watching how each character has their own unique way of dealing with everything going on around them via making jokes, making inventions, or, you know, just trying to keep calm and carry on, like that one poster that everyone quotes now. You know the one. Or maybe that's an old meme. Is that an old meme? I like the meme. Whatever. I cannot wait to read the last one. The hint at the end of the book, in which there is a immortal going on, and she's kind of just going through, and Lockwood & Co. is on everyone's radar. People are mad at Lockwood & Co. because they're an independent agency. This is just a great series, and I can't wait to finally read that one, the last book, once I am able to. This is just a great book. I hope I'm making sense. This is just a great book, and I'm glad I read it when I was able to. I'm just, ooh. I hope I'm making sense here. I really do, because, like, I might not be, if we're being honest. My mind is still a bit scrambled. My mind is still a bit scrambled trying to put my life together after everything that happened in August. There was like 2 or 3 different tragedies that happened in August, and I don't really remember a lot of what I read, but I took notes, so I'm kind of referencing that. But either way, I'm just hoping I'm making sense. Here's to hopeful comprehension. This next book is the one that nearly put me in the slump, and I knew it was gonna happen because this author has disappointed me before, and that is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the follow-up to Strange the Dreamer, in which the events of the end of Strange the Dreamer, when Sarai ends up falling and dying, the existence of the Godspawn are revealed to everyone in Weep, and everything just kind of culminates into this one moment happens, and I'm expecting so much from this book. I loved Strange the Dreamer. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the atmosphere it built. I loved the fantasy elements, and all of that was wiped out by this book. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the fantasy elements that were present in Strange the Dreamer were still there, and when they were there, they were good, they were great, it made me want to keep reading more. My main issue is that it was always underscored and cut off by teenagers being horny and falling in love, and that didn't do it for me. We got a lot of good backstory. We were getting reasons. We were seeing why Weep is the way it was. We were getting more Mina. We were getting Minya's backstory. We were seeing how she's so traumatized, and we were finally being able to delve more into these characters in the way that I was enjoying. However, everything stopped every 2 chapters for people to get horny and to try to have sex and to fall in love and have this romantic tension that I didn't like. I understand that teenagers are at a certain age. They will, experience things and they will want to experiment. I just don't want to read about it, especially in this such a rich fantasy world we are put into, such as the one from Strange the Dreamer. Another thing that bothered me is I don't feel like we saw enough of Nero's development. We had good development. I always love a good rich asshole getting his comeuppance and being told and learning that he's not the hot shit that he thought he was moment. And we did that really well in the first book and then hints in the second book, but it kind of felt like every time he would make a step forward, he would automatically get dragged back 2 steps because of plot purposes, and that wasn't great. I also feel like the whole library they uncovered underneath the city of Weep was kind of just swept under the rug. We get maybe 2 chapters of them trying to dig out books, and then it explains one of them, but we don't get to see what else is in those books. What do they do with them afterwards? Who translates them? Does Laszlo get to read them? We don't get any of that in this book. All underscored by people falling in love, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but going out of such a fantastic fantasy world from Strange the Dreamer into Muse of Nightmares, where everything is mainly romance based, isn't something that I appreciate, and I didn't like this book. This is the book that slumped me out because, again, I don't get it. Like, Laini Taylor has disappointed me before. That's why I couldn't finish the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, because the first book had all these great fantasy elements that were kind of wiped out in favor of making it a romance book, and I didn't like that. So I think this just kind of solidifies for me that Laini Taylor is not an author for me. I will no longer be picking up any of her books that she puts out. If she puts out any more, I may end up giving this book away specifically because I liked Strange the Dreamer. I just don't think I will ever revisit Muse of Nightmares if I ever go back to reread Strange the Dreamer. Either that or I'll just get rid of them both, since I did find them both on clearance, and it will not hurt me to lose this duology, especially considering how many more duologies and how many better written series and more my type of books that I have on my TBR, and I'm really gonna need the shelf space soon. So this may end up in an unhaul coming in the future. Just be on the lookout for that. I don't make any promises. It may just stay for another year or so, but still, I may end up getting rid of this series because it disappointed me so bad. And then the final book that I ended up reading really made me happy, and it pulled me through all this shit that was going on in the end of August, and that is The Buying of Lot 37 by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Cranor. This is Night Vale script book number 3, encapsulating season 3 of Welcome to Night Vale podcast. I loved this. There was so much stuff I missed in my initial listenings to Welcome to Night Vale that were just highlighted and made so much better by me reading it. It also helps me in my readings that I knew what I had, like, ideas of what was happening, because like I said, I have listened to a majority of Welcome to Night Vale, and it also helped that I was able to read it in the characters' voices, because I am able to recall voices like that, and just reading them and hearing them just made it so good. There are some episodes that I'm probably going to go back and listen to, because again, I do that. I love Welcome to Night Vale. I love Carlos and Cecil's continuing relationship even in long distance. I love how neither of them are insecure despite the distance, even though we have like hints of moments where Cecil's kind of worried that Carlos is going to leave him for one of the desert dwellers. But it's all undercurrented by the fact that they love each other so much that they are willing to give almost anything to get back to each other, and I think that's so sweet. We get a lot of development with Cecil and Steve Carlsberg's relationship, because it is mentioned that this is one of the few instances in which one of the first instances in which Cecil mentions Steve Carlsberg by name without automatically cringing and calling him disgusting. I loved the team up between the Faceless Old Woman and Hiram McDaniel. I love how everyone just kind of acknowledges that Hiram McDaniel is a 5-headed dragon and does nothing about it, when this regular man, Frank Chen, automatically just comes up with 5 heads, and I think it's so funny. I love the twist, spoilers, I love the twist that the violet head of Hiram McDaniel bought Cecil to protect Dana from Hiram McDaniel proper and the Faceless Old Woman's plots. That was a twist. Even in my first listening, I remember being like, like, it was so shocking. I love the humor that since Violet was one of the only heads that was able to try to resist everything, they were given their own little hole to poke out of in jail when Hiram McDaniel was ultimately arrested. I loved the family elements. I loved how Cecil loves his niece so much that he would put up with Steve Carlsberg. It's just so many. I can go on and on about Night Vale. I'm not going to go on another rant about Night Vale. I really could, because I love this series so much. It's so funny. I often forget that sometimes this is labeled as a horror podcast, because it's just so wholesome, and it's so family oriented, and it's so funny. And then there's some things that just make me squirm. Like the whole reason why Cecil hates mirrors. The Faceless Old Woman is kind of creepy, but she's also so charming. There's the episodes coming up, Who's a Good Boy, that really shakes me to my bones, and it's just so good. I'm not gonna go on about Night Vale, because I could go on about Night Vale. If you want to experience Night Vale, all of these script books are out. There are 3 novels, there are 4 script books, and there's a podcast, so you have plenty of time and opportunities to go through Welcome to Night Vale. I'm not gonna hand walk you through it any more than I already have. It's a great series about a little desert community in which everything is real and everything is not real, and everything is government mandated or you will get arrested and re-educated. That's all I can say about it. It's just so good. Please get into Night Vale. If you haven't already gotten into Night Vale, please get into Night Vale. It's really good. I promise. It's so funny and it's gay. It's so good. So those are the 5 books that I read in August. I meant to read 10, but again, the slump, the everything, it just made me not want to read anything. I did get through quite a few Sandman graphic novels because the Netflix show came out, and I had already initially started Sandman. I just wanted to go back, and I had already started the graphic novels, I just never picked them up, and then the Sandman show came out, and then it became my hyperfixation, and it still kind of is. So I read a lot of Sandman graphic novels. I reread Oramichi Onisan manga because I was depressed, and that made me laugh for the first time in like days, so that was fun. I read Blue Period. I read a lot of manga and graphic novels this month because I really needed the break, and reading a book wasn't gonna do it because my brain space was needed elsewhere. So now I have a lot of reading to catch up on, but I'm not gonna tack on the last 5 books that I need to read from August onto September because I also don't need that in my life. So I'm probably just gonna pick a couple series to finish off. Like I think I'm going to read the last book in Lockwood & Co. and then Ink and Sigil, and then I'm just gonna mood read the rest of September because that would help me get back on track where I need to be, and it would help free up a lot of brain space than trying to set a strict TBR with 10 books to make sure that I can get through everything and push myself through when the stress feels like it's about to lift again. I don't want to do that to myself. So yeah, that's about it. I hope this has been comprehensible. I'm sorry I've been away for the last 2 weeks, but like I said, everything kicked up in the last 2 weeks of August, so I haven't felt like recording, and I haven't been able to find motivation to read, but I've been doing that. Hopefully this next month will be better for me in terms of reading. I may just pick a bunch of shorter books to read. I'm going to finish at least 2 series. I still don't think I'm going to start any series yet, simply because I haven't finished the series that I want to finish, but I may just let myself do whatever I want to do this month. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So no TBR. You'll just hear about it in my wrap-up. I have a couple videos planned, so hopefully I'll be able to get those out soon. If my mental health ticks up any better, I don't know. We're just gonna play September by ear, and then October is gonna be horror, so you're gonna see that TBR. That's about it. I'm kind of just rambling right now to fill time because I want to record something. And for me, this has been my wrap up. I've been October. This has been Nerdboy Reads, and I hope to see you in the next one. Please follow me on Instagram at Nerdboy Reads. I'm gonna have it linked in the description. Maybe look for me on Goodreads. I have a Goodreads if anyone cares about that. I can link that in the description. I hope to see you in the next one. Next time it'll be a more comprehensible video, I promise. I just haven't recorded in a while and I'm kind of rusty for it. So yeah, this has been the video. I've been October. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.